In the Impact segment tonight, Democrats and the police. The second night of the Democratic Convention featured mothers of African Americans killed by police officers and others. Last night, family members of slain police officers had their moment on the convention stage.
When I lost Thor, I had no idea it was possible to lose so much in an entire lifetime, much less in a single moment. Let us honor all of the fallen officers who weren't named here today by acting as our officers did, helping others, bridging communities, and building peace.
Despite that moving tribute, critics say that Democrats are still only paying lip service to the mounting threats our police face. Another chilling example came overnight as a San Diego police officer was shot and killed in the line of duty, his partner wounded. Joining us now with reaction, host of Justice with Judge Jeanine Pirro, and along with Jeanine is criminal defense attorney Andel Brown. Andel, I went to that convention and I saw, starting from the very beginning, when Debbie Wasserman Schultz was removed, or she removed herself from the chairwomanship of the convention, she was replaced by Stephanie Rawlings Blake. Now, the mayor of Baltimore, who decided that rioting was going to be okay, and if people wanted, if Black Lives Matter, whoever wanted to riot, they were going to be allowed to riot in a city in America. Your thoughts?
Well, let me back up for a second. She never said you're allowed to riot, and it wasn't a Black Lives Matter riot. What she said was the people that are out there rioting and doing damage, we have to protect our officers' safety. The officers were outnumbered at that point in time. We're not going to put them into a situation that's going to do more harm than good.
Well, she gave them space to riot. She said we're going to give them space.
I'm sorry, Eric, but why does a mayor make a decision about whether the police are going to be or have sufficient numbers to be protected? That's not her job. She should keep her nose out of it. And even assuming that you're right, what she did was wrong. It's none of her business. The cops decide whether or not they can go forward.
And the chief of police at the time made the very same decision. Who was the chief of police?
Yeah, who did he work for?
Wanted to keep his officers safe.
Rather than rehashing her decisions then, was that the right choice to make the chairwoman of the Democrat convention?
Well, I think the city of Baltimore...
Being as controversial as that decision was.
is controversial, but I think everyone is looking for guidance on what's going to happen in the relationship between the community and the police department. And I think no one is better than bring the controversy out front and let's deal with it. We saw the family of slain police officers talking to the crowd. We saw the sheriff from Dallas speaking to the crowd about what's going on in this country. It's a conversation we need to have.
And Judge, during that family, some of the speeches by family members, or during one of the police officers that was speaking, there was some yelling from the crowd, Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter.
And I have to tell you, Eric, I have a real problem with that. The whole concept of Black Lives Matter is that it's the genesis. It began in Ferguson with Michael Brown and with Trayvon Martin. All right? Trayvon Martin, the defendant, was acquitted. And in Ferguson, Michael Brown, they didn't even bring charges against him. The Justice Department couldn't bring anything against him. So it was based on a lie, hands up, don't shoot. Now, this whole Black Lives Matter movement is based on something that is not true. And here's the bottom line. As a prosecutor, I prosecuted cops who didn't do their jobs. But there is a social contract in this country, and we have vigilante justice if we don't follow it. That means the police do their job, you don't like what they do, then you make a complaint. You don't go out and kill cops like 5 in Dallas because they're white.
All right, so Andel, stay on the convention here. Yeah. Now, do you think it was wise of the people who put this thing together to have the mothers of Eric Garner and Michael Brown and the others, have them first and talk about how their sons and their children were killed by cops? Why not have a moment where you bring out the parent, bring them together? The ones that came out last night, bring those mothers and family members along with these mothers and have a moment of unity. That would have worked.
I'm glad Judge Pirro brought up the social contract that we have between the community and the police department. The great power, the great deference, the great honor that we give police department comes with great responsibility. And life and liberty are at stake every time an officer goes out into the streets. The life and liberties of ordinary Americans. And that's what those families represented. They represent people who lost life and liberty.
All of them.
Lost life and liberty.
Sides.
Absolutely, on both sides. And in order for us to deal with it, we have to have this type of dialogue, not just people people racing to one side with their talking points or racing to another side with their talking points, but a real conversation about how it's affecting both people. When I looked at the officer, one of the officers that died in Baton Rouge, I looked at his Facebook status that went viral, and he was talking about when he's not in uniform, he's looked at with suspicion by one group, and when he's in uniform, he's looked at with suspicion by another group.
You're preaching to the choir right now. Everyone agrees with that. My issue, and our issue, has been there was a moment that the Democrats could have used and brought some unity together between law enforcement and Black Lives Matter or mothers of sons who were killed by officers.
Putting them together is
But there's no moral equivalency there.
Judge.
Here's the thing. Michael Brown was a thug who engaged in a strong-arm robbery and reached for a cop's gun. What he did was so outrageous that no charges, no wrongdoing against anyone. I'm sorry. I don't see the moral equivalency here.
You can't focus on one case.
Well, that is the genesis of Black Lives Matter.
Charles Kinsey was a therapist helping an autistic patient who was shot with his hands up on his back.
Yeah,
that's another case.
Okay, well,
so
why
we have both sides. We have both sides, and we have to look at the whole picture.
Both sides here. The police have the power and the obligation to protect us. It's not a negotiation. It's not something where you have
with that power.
You know what?
They have to have transparency and accountability for that power.
No, the
if they do wrong,
people
you have to be able to see
take it into
it.
their own hands. The courts do it.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there. Obviously, a hot debate that's going to stick around for a while. Judge Handel, thank you guys very much. Directly ahead, the head of the FBI sounding new alarms about ISIS threats to the homeland. Does Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton have the right plan to take them on? We'll be right back with that.